Hello, so today I'm working on the quarter windows for a 1966 Ford Mustang. Here is the entire assembly. I want to be able to service this. Main reason is because, you can buy new ones, but they're not exactly cheap. They're like $350 and up, $350 a piece for the cheap ones. It's kind of a lot of money. These could be serviceable, in my opinion. But part of the problem is everything is kind of riveted all together. This track is riveted in here. These rollers are riveted. This is original glass, I believe. I don't know if you can see the tag there, or the etching. There's nothing wrong with it. Why would I replace it? The problem I'm having with it is, well, one, if you have a window like this, you can look in there. It's pitted. I cleaned it up already with a wire brush, but it's pretty pitted. There was a lot of rust in there. Rust, water gets in there, it sits in there, and it rusts. It happens. Another thing that happens is these rollers get frozen because the pins get rusted. This one is not moving at all. This one moves a little, but I can feel resistance. This one is also frozen. So, how to fix it? I have several ideas, but we'll talk about those as we go along. This is the other quarter window assembly. As you can see, there is more rust damage here. Particularly, rust has eaten away at the rivets. The first thing I'm going to do is remove the frozen rollers. We're going to do that by grinding down the back of the rivets. Let's do that. Before I actually get started, I should say one thing. I'm not going to remove the glass out of here. I don't know if that's a good idea or not. I don't know that I would recommend it. I do know that, when you start taking things apart, you open more cans of worms. This is not going to be the most delicate process that I'm going through, but I'm lazy, I'll admit it, and I just don't want to deal with glass problems. I don't know anything about auto glass, so I'm going to be as careful as I can. A block with a hole in it. That's going to go in there. A sponge to protect your window. Something like that. I'll probably wrap it. A punch and a hammer. If you have a press, that might be better. I don't have a press. Not sure why this was frozen the way it was. I would have expected rust, but there was no rust in here. So either way, we'll fix that. This one's got a little bit of rust in it. Not horrible though. So I don't know if these plastic rollers expanded over time and just ended up getting squeezed in there. I expected these all to be rusted. These two are not though. This one clearly is not. However, this one from the other quarter window assembly, you can see all the pitting. It was horribly rusty, and I took it to the wire wheel and cleaned all the rust off. But yeah, these other two, they don't look too bad. So I'm going to clean those up on the wire wheel anyway, just to kind of smooth them out. And yeah. Lemony fresh. Except my blood blister. That was from a different project. So I'm looking at this, and it does look like the metal bushing, collar, whatever you want to call it, is lower than the plastic. That's why I kind of think maybe the plastic expanded over time. I don't know. Either way, I'm going to sand this down just a bit, the plastic piece, so it can roll freely in there. Double-sided tape. Sandpaper. It's going a little slow. A belt sander will take off a lot of material very quickly, so don't press hard, keep it flat and even, and let the sandpaper do the work. And now I'm taking off the rails. Okay, so there were several different ways I could think about going about this. The first way would be to thread the narrow end of this bushing here. Optimal size looked to be about 1/4 inch to me. And then we could take a binding post nut over it. Binding post nuts are kind of like T-nuts. We would have to then obviously drill this out to the size of your binding post nut. Feed that back through, binding post nut on it, good to go. Another way I thought about going about this was to tap this post in here, like yay. Feed it back through, and screw a nut on, or a machine screw on. Because these are riveted, my guess would have been that a flathead countersunk machine screw would have done the best job. Problem here is, you can see the head is just about the size of the opening. So I'm guessing that'll probably pull through. However, these are pretty small screws. These are number 4s I have right here, which is another problem, which I'll talk about. We probably got enough space to put a washer on. That profile should be okay. However, problem is, that's a number 4, and that's tiny. That's what you would need for this. This one here. There were 2 sizes. The one on the left, I could probably go with a number 6. But, number 4 taps, they're small, they're tiny, they can break. You got to drill into here. it's elbow grease. Things can go wrong. So that's a downside to that. Another thought I had was to use a threaded insert. We could drill that out to the diameter of the threaded insert, press that puppy in. In my case, I'd probably be gently using a hammer, but whatever. With this method, we would have to thread the narrow end of the bushing, or just cut it off completely and drill a hole through the entire bushing. And then feed a long screw through it. This screw is obviously very long, but you get the point. And the screw would go into the threaded insert. Keep it tight. Finally, a nice pan head machine screw with a nylon bushing. The nylon bushing, I'd probably take off the top, the T. That would fit right into yay. And the pan head screw all the way down. And then what we'd have to do is cut off the small side of the shaft from here up and drill and tap. As is often the case, we're going to be limited by what our hardware store has, unless you want to wait for parts. They don't have a large selection of binding posts and nuts. So we don't have one big enough to go around these shanks. This guy, I don't know, it just seems like too much work. And if it doesn't work, I think we might not be able to go backwards. We wouldn't have a backup plan. However, these number 4s, at least for this one, probably a number 4 for this one and a number 6 machine screw for this one. If we just tap into that shank, screw our screws in, if something goes wrong, that would give us a recourse. We could completely cut off the top end of the shank, and we could then do something like that. So I'm going to try to tap this out with a number 4 tap. The good news is there's already a hole in there, so cool. Won't have to center punch that. Not that that's a big deal. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Let's give it a shot. So here's what we're gonna need to tap this to a number 4. We're gonna need a 3/32 inch drill bit. That is the correct size to drill out for a number 4 tap. I recommend you use a brand new one, very sharp, good quality. The last thing you want to do, this is a very tiny drill bit, the last thing you want to do is break it off inside here. Well, maybe that's not the last thing you want to do, but you don't want to break it off inside there. So brand new, sharp, yeah. We're gonna need some cutting oil. Well, I just use 3-in-1, but if you have cutting oil, great, use that instead. I don't have cutting oil here. And, well, now how are we gonna hold this? That's a good question. First, we could just hold it with our fingers, right? With the drill coming down at high speed. I don't know, you tell me, is that a good idea? Probably not. I'm gonna put a board in here. It's just a small piece of hardwood. That'll keep that from getting pushed through the vise. And then I made this jig, just a piece of pine. Pine works. If you have hardwood, that would probably work even better. I drilled through it with a 5/16 inch bit, and I countersunk the back because the post is countersunk. So basically, we're gonna sit it in here like this and drill it out. And if you're using a good, sharp, high quality, brand new drill bit, it should be straight. But I always double check to make sure they're straight. Flip this on, look for any wobble. You're gonna want that straight. Okay, once you got that guy dead center, which I do, you're gonna wanna cut in, for my tap, looks like a little bit better than a 1/2 inch. Now, when I'm drilling out metal like this, I don't go too fast. Of course, we wanna add a little bit of oil. I only drill out a little bit at a time, back it out, get the metal shavings off, and go back in. I got my drill set on 620. I just prefer to go nice and slow, nice and easy. Let the bit do the cutting. Don't force it. Don't push it. You'll know if it's cutting. You're going to get metal shavings. So let's have at it. I like to keep that drill bit nice and clean and keep this oiled well. Just go a little bit at a time until you're to the depth you need. See those shavings? That means we're doing a good job. Every once in a while, I'll give that drill bit a touch. You want to make sure it's cool. You don't want it to warm up. That'll cause it to break, that'll cause it to dull. Okay, I've got the depth where I need it. Now I'm going to tap it with a 440, number 440, which matches the screws that I have. I can't do this with one hand on the phone. I'm probably not the best guy to teach you how to tap anyway. There's lots of videos on the internet to teach you how to tap. Good quality tap and die set is key, and oil is key. Again, cutting oil is preferred. This is all I have though, and it works okay. Okay, so I got the tap started pretty well, so I should be able to show you what I'm doing. I just pulled the tap out, reason being I want to add a little bit of oil here. So when I tap, just like a drill bit or a saw or anything, I want to let the tool do the work, especially with a tap this tiny, all right? You want to let the tap cut it. You don't want to force it. So when you're doing this, I mean, you can feel when it's cutting and you can feel when it's binding, and you probably won't be able to see on the video, but this tap will twist when it starts to bind. So when I tap, I'll typically go maybe a quarter or less. That's not even a quarter, that's an 1/8. I'm already feeling it binding, so then I'll back out maybe a 1/2 turn or more to clear out the metal shavings. And then I'll do it again. Maybe an 1/8, yeah. I'm going about an 1/8 here. 1/8 of a turn, back out, almost looks like almost a full turn I'm backing out. Just go nice and slow. It's gonna take time, sure, but you know what? I'm saving something that's 60 years old, something that was made in the USA, something original. That means something to me. Plus, you know, like I said, who wants to spend $350 on something made in China and wait for 2 weeks for it to get delivered? Not me. I'm gonna have this done in a weekend, God willing. So yeah, just go slow. Let the tool do the work. Don't go too fast. Okay, she's all tapped out. I got her down to about here. That should be plenty, more than we need. Feels good to me. These are stainless steel screws I'm using, so I'm not going to want to crank too hard on them. But when I put this together, I'm going to use a thread locker. That's my plan. Hopefully that'll keep everything together nice and tight. Now, like we talked about, this one here, this one has a larger diameter shank on it. So I could probably get away with a number 6 in here. The drill bit and the tap, it's just a little less delicate. So now that we have these roller pins underway, and I'm feeling pretty good about it, we also have to deal with this roller track. So this one was really badly rusted. I mean, you can see the pitting in there. This was totally just rusted in there when I took it out. But I cleaned it up with a wire wheel. I'm going to go in and clean up some more. In all honesty, I could probably have a local metal worker fabricate something like this for me relatively cheap. But I don't know, maybe you don't have a metal worker nearby. And I mean, you know, there's still a lot of metal in here, even though it rusted. I mean, I can put pressure on it and it's not going anywhere. So, you know, what the heck? Let's throw it back in, right? But I did want to show you how I'm going to mount this, or how I plan on mounting this, because this was flush riveted, not pop riveted. I don't have equipment to do flush riveting. I don't really have the desire to buy equipment to do flush riveting. I don't even know what I need. It might not even be that expensive, but I mean, what, I'm going to do 4 of these and I don't know, maybe never flush rivet again. Either way, and you might not even have access to a flush riveter. So I went to my local Ace, which is where I got all that other stuff, to see what they had for me, and I had these 3/16 inch aluminum binding posts, very small. I got lucky. I call it luck. This guy fits in here perfect. Absolutely perfect. So I'm going to use these to remount these rails. I wish they had steel, but well, they did have steel in bigger sizes. But kind of like I'm doing with these, I'd like to have an exit strategy. I'd like to have some outs in case this goes wrong. I don't want to automatically, you know, drill these holes bigger for a bigger binding post or whatever, and then have no recourse, like if the roller doesn't fit in here anymore. Because if you know, obviously the bigger you go with the binding post, the fatter the screw head's going to be. I'm trying to go as flush as possible, just like the rivets were. That is about as that's actually got a lower profile than the original rivets. So I'm hoping these will work and will be strong enough. And there they are installed, just kind of a dry fit. I'm pretty happy with it for the most part. This side is tight. This side has got a little wiggle in it. Maybe I can grind this down a little bit so it doesn't bottom out. Yeah. The only thing, again, is these are aluminum. They're going to be soft, so I can't crank on them. I mean, those rivets were pretty heavy duty in there. I don't want to crank on these aluminum binding posts and strip them out or anything. So when I do the final install on this, again, I'll probably use some thread locker in there to make sure they don't back out. Okay, I'm getting ready to put the rail in. I'm going to use these binding posts as I showed before, but the screws are bottoming out because the metal is so thin. These are 3/16 inch binding posts. So I need to grind a little bit off of here so that the binding post screw doesn't bottom out. How to do this safely? I'm going to put a longer screw in the back and then grind away. So here they are, all finished up. Just wanted to give you a couple notes on a few other things I did that I didn't really talk about. First of all, I did go ahead and replace these seals. I got new ones from, I don't know, National Parts Depot or CJ Pony Parts or one of those places. And when I put these in, I did lube them a little bit with the same grease that I used on the roller shanks, the roller pins, whatever you want to call those things. This I got on Amazon. I like it because it's a nice big size. Of course, the more you get, the less you pay per ounce. But if you don't have that, don't want to buy it, I'm sure you could use a standard plumber's grease, a waterproof plumber's grease that you can find in your big box stores. But yeah, without that grease, these are a pain to get in. So I just greased the rail a little bit. They slid right in, no problem. A couple other things. If you notice, and you might have noticed while we were going through the videos, that some of these parts turned black all of a sudden. That's not your imagination, that was me. This rail is black. This roller pin, and this roller pin, and this roller pin. I black oxide coated those for rust protection and other protection from the elements, and I used this stuff from Caswell, which you can order online. This is a quart. I think this cost me around $30, and it's a concentrate, so you mix it with water. A little bit goes a long way. Read the directions though. There's other YouTubes of guys that use this stuff. I really like it. Lets you black oxide coat things at home really quickly, really cheaply. You also might have noticed that I did not do this rail. The reason being is because these rivets were like fully intact. If you remember the rivets on this one, they were like rusted, half gone. I'm surprised it was holding it on there as well as it was. So I decided not to do this one, A, because the rivets are fully intact, and B, because I want to see how well this holds up before I start destroying another one. So I'm going to throw these back in the car. I'm going to, run them for the, use them for the season, and see how well my servicing holds up here. What else? You also may notice that they're a lot more shiny than they used to be. I did polish them. There's a lot of ideas floating around about this. If you notice, we have chrome here, and then we have stainless steel over here. Some guys say use 4/0 steel wool, that's 4 zeros, steel wool, and they say it doesn't scratch the chrome. I don't necessarily believe that. I've tried I've tried this stuff on chrome, I've tried this stuff on stainless. I can see scuff marks. Maybe it's just me, maybe it's stuff that got in there. I don't know. I don't trust it though. I use bronze wool. Fine bronze wool pads. They're a bit more expensive. I think they're just much nicer. You're not going to scratch chrome with this. I use that plus chrome polish. So just like I do it with a rag, except I put the chrome polish on the bronze wool and then just scrub. I had paint overspray on the window in some spots. It got that all off. Of course, it doesn't get the rust off. You can still see the minor pitting, but I think they cleaned up pretty good. So I'm happy. That's about it. I hope you found this useful, and I hope this helps you keep your classic car on the road.